The mainstream media has been shilling for Ubisoft and Assassin's Creed Shadows for months now, and even though we've seen several delays, lots of bugs and glitches in their recent gameplay trailer, and just an overall discontent with the title that they're making, now, of course, Alyssa Mercante has put out a new article on Rolling Stone saying it reinvents Assassin's Creed, but can it appease the haters? But before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, I understand that companies are always trying to reinvent what made them successful because you need to keep moving a franchise forward. But on the flip side, there's a very fine line between doing enough and doing too much and then upsetting gamers. And it seems that with Assassin's Creed Shadows, they're doing the worst job possible because in the past, Assassin's Creed was never 100% historically accurate, but in this game, because there is a playable character who is a historical figure, and there are also things like LGBTQ romances, you're bound to upset people because of how unhistorically accurate it really is. And of course, we're seeing Rolling Stones and Alyssa defending this game tooth and nail, saying with a diverse cast and new vision, the game feels revolutionary, yet bad faith culture warriors are unlikely to be impressed. Now, this is why I live stream most of the video games that I talk about, because maybe after all of these months of talking about Assassin's Creed Shadows and seeing very negative things that I've been unimpressed with, maybe I'll love it once it actually releases. So it's only fair that I do give it a chance, and maybe I will be thoroughly impressed. Maybe I'll be able to say, I was completely wrong. This game is absolutely awesome. But of course, she's just going to assume that people are unlikely to be impressed because we're just haters. That all we've done is hate on this game and this really diverse team and this passionate team. Maybe they should have marketed their game better. Maybe they shouldn't have hired dollar store historians like Thomas Lockley to do a job where he really can't do it. He's just admitted that, oh, they reached out to me and I saw an opportunity to sell more copies of my book. On top of all of that, the game itself has stirred up rage-fueled culture war complaints and harassment, alleging the studio has disrespected Japanese culture in several ways, but mainly because of Shadow's focus on Yasuke, who is black. Yasuke in real life was black. I have no problem with them having a black character within this game, but out of all of the Japanese figures you could have highlighted as the lead character, you decide Yasuke, who was more of a retainer in real life than a full-blown samurai. You just have taken this individual and fictionalized him just so you could sell a product with him as the lead. That's not what people want to see. And of course, that's going to upset gamers. That doesn't mean we're racist. It doesn't mean we're bigots. It doesn't mean we're awful people. It means we are simply criticizing a game and Ubisoft's decision with this game, which we are allowed to do. But time and time again, we're basically told that we can't criticize, that we can't give our opinions, because then, of course, we're ists and phobes, which is a terrible mentality. You would think that Ubisoft would be wanting as many people to be talking about this game as possible, positive or negative, and that they would at least try to understand where we're coming from. But even when they previously had to make a statement and apologize for something like the reenactment groups banners being used in this game, they've fucked up things that simple, because that apology and statement was issued by the Japanese studio that they have when they're not even the ones making the game, which is so freaking pathetic. At every twist and turn, they've half-assed this game's development. They've even half-assed apologies, and that's why people are not giving them the benefit of the doubt. Now, I don't think that this game looks good. A lot of other people don't think it looks good, but you could at least try to understand where we're coming from and sit down and go, you know what? We get it, right? We've fucked up. We've made a lot of mistakes, but there's no accountability within Ubisoft at all whatsoever. Now, I am going to give Alyssa a little bit of credit here. The article is very long. It's very very thorough. It really does seem like it was ran through the Ubisoft PR team and they okayed it. And she was like, hell yeah, I'm super hyped. But of course, there's this ongoing narrative throughout it that we are just going to hate it because we are racists. She says, but will any of that matter? Shadows is mired in the ongoing rage fueled discourse that kicked off last March after a reactionary corner of the internet began obsessing over one consultancy company, Sweet Baby Inc., which offers narrative development and cultural consultations or authenticity consultations to game studios. The same people waving banners against forced diversity in games are furious at Ubisoft centering Yasuke, who some claim was never a black samurai. I think this article would have looked so good for her if she didn't include all of this hatred towards gamers, if she didn't bring up the culture war, if she was simply talking about the game and the way she felt about it and when she played it, if she enjoyed it or not, right? Because this article is very long and it is very in depth, but of course she had to go on a tirade about Sweet Baby Inc. and the culture war because she's still very bothered by it. I mean, she's in the middle of a lawsuit because of it, so of course she wants to talk about it as much as possible. But she says a reactionary corner of the internet began obsessing over a consultancy company, Sweet Baby Inc., when all we really did was start researching it. We started looking into Sweet Baby Inc. and similar narrative consultation companies, and we are simply paying attention to them now. They're like on our radar. Every move that they make is being watched because people are curious as to the work that they're doing. That doesn't mean that we're obsessing over it. I think that you're kind of obsessing over people you don't like. I think you're obsessing over this topic, but she would say, oh no, that's definitely not the case. But what about the people insisting that Ubisoft has ignored Japan's history to push some sort of woke agenda? No one's necessarily saying, at least from what I have seen, that Ubisoft has ignored Japan's history, but the complaint I have seen is, why would you highlight Yasuke, somebody who again was a retainer more than a full-blown samurai in a game, when you had the opportunity to highlight a Japanese man? We've been asking for an AC game set in Japan for years, but this is the best that you could come up with? Seriously? Dumont says the team is open to receiving feedback when it's respectful or measured, but as far as the rest of the critiques go, the team just makes what we can. Now, did anybody who is more, I guess we'll just say, right-leaning get an opportunity to play this game? Are there any content creators who have heavily criticized Ubisoft over the past few months that got an opportunity to play this game? Absolutely not, because they only want people who are in their echo chamber to be able to talk about this title, which isn't a good look, which is why I'm saying it seems like a very PR-approved piece, right? It doesn't really say anything bad about the game. It just feels kind of bland at times, very filtered at times, and maybe this is how she genuinely felt, but with the position that she's in, I bet that she probably was just trying to say things in a way that would not get her in trouble, because if she gets kicked out of the mainstream industry now, if she loses that access that she has, she's completely screwed. She will not be able to get any eyes on her pieces. She won't be able to get all of that attention that she craves. And sure, I'm giving her attention right now by making this video, but ultimately, if we do not call these people out and they continue to go unchecked, they're only going to get worse and worse and worse. So, of course, Alyssa over at Rolling Stones is running this puff piece for Ubisoft and Assassin's Creed Shadows, saying it's got a diverse cast and a new vision. Again, there's a fine line there, and I do bet that they're going to pass it, but the game feels revolutionary, yet bad faith culture warriors, anybody who she disagrees with, are likely to be unimpressed. But that's all that I had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.